Hello and welcome to the Shack News Chattycast, the podcast that now needs a wireless dongle. I'm one of your hosts, Steve Watts.
I'm your other host, Brian Carr, and Steve, I gotta tell you, today's Chattycast, totally brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download, 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/chattycast.
That's right. So every week we usually pick a big topic and post about it in the chatty and then talk about it in detail with your comments. This week it's Friday. We're feeling a little looser. It's the end of the week. We're halfway out the door. We're going to do kind of a loose show format. Since there was no big inciting event this week, instead there were several news things that happened. We're just going to kind of devote the entire show to just talking about all of the news that happened this week and tackle a variety of different topics.
Games happen again next week, so we'll get back to that later.
Video games are happening at some point this fall. So to discuss that with us is our janitor/CEO, Asif Khan.
Hi.
And up until a few minutes ago, those of you watching the video feed, he looked like a confidential informant.
He still does a little bit.
There you go. That's what it looks like without the light. Here's what it looks like with the light.
Yeah, it's still. Yeah. We need to obscure your voice, and you need to give us some intel. Yeah.
I'm like a vocoder. I'm like, oh, we're here to talk about our next.
I gotta say, like between the backdrop, the locale, the chandelier, and then of course you looking like a mysterious informant, I've got like a Jason Bourne vibe going on.
I've gone under deep cover in Northeast Ohio.
That explains all the moving around.
You just got in from an exciting car chase across Paris. Anyway,
kill the guy with a book.
We're going to talk about all sorts of interesting news happenings from this week, but first, let's talk a little bit about what we are playing. And Asif, why not you? While moving back and forth to Ohio.
Okay, so all my cool stuff is still in boxes. Like
you haven't unpacked anything yet. You said
my
you need your consoles.
My tower, all my consoles, all in boxes. So all I got is this gaming laptop right here, and my iPhone. So I've been playing, surprise, surprise, Rocket League. It's a game with cars and a ball, and it's kind of like soccer.
What? Tell me more.
Yeah. Anyway, they added a new mode last night called Rumble, and it's basically like Mario Kart Rocket League. So you get weapons, like there's spikes.
Okay, I'm listening.
You have like a little, there's like one.
Is it? Wait.
You pull the trigger and it like shoots a little punching, like a boxing glove at someone.
The Extendo glove.
Yeah, the Extendo glove is an option.
I need to clarify something very quickly. Is this is it battle mode Mario Kart or Mario Kart Mario Kart?
Well, it's Rocket League.
Because I know, but like, which is the better comparison? Because they dropped battle mode from the most recent Mario Kart.
Or they're not racing, right? Like still playing Rocket League.
You're not incentivized to kill people like battle mode. But but you're still playing Rocket League, so you're trying to score a goal. So one of these power-ups is like a spike, right? Spikes just shoot out of all parts of your car, so the ball sticks to you, and you can just drive straight into the goal with it. Like, you don't have to worry about dribbling or anything. Another one is like a magnet, so the ball will just kind of, you see like this little like magnetic field like pulling it, so you can kind of slingshot it, the ball into it. There's other power-ups where you can kill your opponents with them. Like one was like if you are touched, your opponent instantly dies. I think it's a game mode that's not, it's not for everybody. I was reading in the chatty, like there's a lot of Rocket League purists that really care about it as an esport, and this is kind of the opposite of that. This is just a fun mode.
Yeah. But that's what I was going to ask, is if you think it's going to have the same legs as far as like, how you see like trick shots and stuff like that. Like there's a real skill involved with being good at Rocket League.
Well, I mean, let's look at all the different patches they've done where they've added game modes. They added hockey, and I love hockey. So of course I want to play Rocket League with a hockey puck and with ice physics, and when you slide, it makes the sounds of like skates, which I think is kind of cool. Basketball was really cool. Hoops, 4-on-4 is a mess, but 2-on-2 hoops is really cool. And that's basketball physics on the ball and sound effects of a basketball game. Both of those modes are pretty cool. I don't play them as much as I do the traditional game, but like occasionally I'll go in there and play it. And then they did this thing with Rocket Labs where the maps aren't they're not just traditional soccer maps. Like one of them's a donut, another one has these like columns on either side. So they've experimented a lot with different game modes, and they've all been free. So with Rumble, I feel it's just another one of those, and but it's not bad at all. Like I'll definitely play it again. I think it'd be fun to get some jackers together and play it. But it's the thing I noticed. It's not about picking up power-ups like a Mario game would or Mario Kart game would be like. It's just every 10 seconds everyone gets a power-up and it's random. So I guess it's more equal.
That sounds pretty chaotic. Yeah, I mean. It's equal in that everyone is doing crazy things at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, basically every 10 seconds, everyone has the ability to do something crazy. You can sit on it and like strategically use it. But yeah, I had some really cool goals last night with the magnet thing. Like I was going up the wall and kind of slamming it in, and the spikes are really cool. Everyone's saying that the spikes are probably overpowered. But yeah, it was like I said, it's a free update, and I think it's good. So I'm not complaining too much.
So, Brian, have you been up to anything? I know. Just a programming note that we can sort of stick in here. We're going to be changing the regular showtime sometime next week. It was going to be this week, but the Sony event sort of conflicted with that. And that is because Brian is back at school teaching inquiring young minds about video games and media and such.
Shaping those young minds.
Yeah. Oh God, why did we give him that power? So
it's too late now. You can't take it back.
The timing of the show is going to be changing to a new regular time. This is not a regular time.
It's basically gonna be like a half an hour earlier. That's normal.
But since you are busy with shaping young minds, I know you haven't had as much time to play games. But have you gotten up to anything?
I've gotten a couple. So I did dabble in the Battlefield 1 demo, or beta, I guess. Sorry, beta, not demo. What's the difference anymore? But
there is no difference. It's the same thing.
I gotta tell you, I appreciate what that game is. I can see it doing very well. I see why people are excited for it. I think I just don't like Battlefield. We
talked about it last week. We talked about it last week. It's not a game for everybody, and it's you can still look at it and appreciate it, but it might just not be for you, and that's totally acceptable.
I wanted to like it. Like I really wanted to get into this one because I think the different setting is really cool. But I don't know. It's just not a series that clicks for me. Whether it's World War I or World War II or Modern Warfare or Police or Star Wars, it just doesn't really do it for me.
You seem to like Halo when it comes to shooters more than a lot of the CODs.
Well, not this most recent Halo.
No. I mean like Halo 2, Halo 3.
Yeah, Halo 3 was
even Call of Duty. Like Brian isn't against. You're not against like war shooters.
No, I like Call of Duty.
You like Call of Duty fine. You just like it when it goes in more of a sci-fi direction usually.
Yeah, I'm not a super big fan of realistic military shooters.
Yeah.
And like
so maybe that's the problem right there.
I mean, it could be, but like it's hard to explain because I think that a historical shooter I'm more interested in because that's something that's kind of like okay, you're actually sort of almost learning something from it. Yeah. And it's a different thing you don't necessarily see. I mean,
it's like an experiential knowledge. Like if a shooter really captured like the Normandy beach moment, and you were able to like feel like what a piece of what that felt like. That's like a kind of learning. So that's different.
Something like that. And so I know it's just like it's partially aesthetics. It's just also partially kind of like what you actually get to do in the game. But yeah, Battlefield. I don't know. The whole spawn at a waypoint, run to the next thing, get popped by somebody you can't see, do it again. I don't know. Because like to me, I know like the scale is like a big part of why people love it, but to me it just felt like I was waiting too long to actually get to fights, and when I did get to the fight, I was dead immediately. So I had to go run over, and I could get like cars and horses and all that. But
I'm going to ask a controversial question here.
Yeah.
You guys think that headshots are too easy, and that's messing up shooters?
I don't think it's that they're too easy. I think it's just that the people who play shooters have just kind of developed a knack for them.
I mean, if you're talking realistic military, the military does not train people to go for headshots. Like
well, no, yeah,
they train people to go for center mass. And
there's a subplot in the amazing television series Justified about this.
Like, they know the chances of hitting the head are like pretty low. But in a video game, it's like all the time. It's just like
I think, Steve, it's more like what Brian said. The community around FPS have just learned okay, this is the angle at which I need to keep my reticle to get headshots. And then there's also just a lot of really talented people at aiming, because people have been playing FPS for what, like 25 years now.
This is probably a terrible idea that people would hate, but what if there was just like a random chance, like 33 to 50% chance that you just like miss, even if
well, a game
even
that
if you're aiming well, you just miss. So it's less reliable, and then people wouldn't do it as much.
A game that I think really captured the headshot very well was the Gears series, because they did that active reload function. So when you get an active reload, you're more likely to get a headshot. I think that added like a little bit of chance, because you had to get the reload right, and then you still had to aim properly.
Yeah.
So I think something like that could make sense, but I understand why FPS purists are like, no, I want it to be
where I aim. I mean, like when they did the original, was it Borderlands, that like where you were aiming was not necessarily like what got hit, and it was like this doesn't feel right,
Yeah. No, so I think because we've been playing a certain way for so long that it's hard for us to just regress in some ways, and I think I think the whole community of FPS players has evolved to understand, in this game, this is how I aim for a headshot. And then there's also just people that are ridiculously good at this because they've been playing for so long.
Yeah, especially younger people.
Also, there's less room for error when you're pointing with a mouse and clicking when the reticle is over the person's head. That's an easier thing to pull off than actually like literally aiming with a gun.
You would think so, but let me tell you about how much trouble I have playing snipers in Overwatch.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
At least with Anna, I can just like shoot my teammates and they'll heal, and that's good enough.
So have you gotten involved in anything other than a beta that you didn't really like?
Honestly, it's that, or I talk about how I downloaded WWE Supercard again. So it's
why did you do that?
Why did you do that? No,
because I wanted something like it was this, or it was just Marvel Tsum Tsum for the next God knows how many years. But whatever, I don't know.
We lost Brian.
This is a bad.
He's gonna be in his classes playing WWE Supercard under his desk while he's talking to these students, shaping young minds.
I don't have a desk. I walk around in a lecture. I can't quite get away. Now, if they take exams, then maybe.
What's weird? I know Brian. I know Brian. You like video games that play themselves. So WWE Supercard is like basically just.
It's not really a game.
Itself.
It is such a game.
Sure,
it was almost Game of the Year in 2014.
It's a game where you have to determine which number is bigger and then tap on that number.
But when you boil it down, like if we want to get really, really sort of regressive, most games are just trying to make sure that this number is bigger than the other number.
That's true. That's
so true. It's basically maybe it's the purest form of game. It just it does away.
What's weird about all this is that I know.
Wrestle.
I know that Brian has also been playing Hearthstone, and he downloaded the recent adventure.
Well, I was going to actually say one other thing, too.
We don't have to talk about that in detail, but like you've got like a really good card game, and you're also playing WWE Supercard.
Well, it's because I can't. I don't have space on my phone to carry Hearthstone with me, so that's something I have to play mostly at home. But yeah, I also downloaded because I haven't played it yet, but I'm excited for the NBA 2K17 Prelude to come out. And so there's an app where you can use it to scan your face, like take a picture that can then be imported into the game, which is really exciting because that's like a really convenient, easy way to do it. Unfortunately, that app also comes with the NBA version of Supercard. So there is an NBA version. It is the exact same game, right down to there's no difference. The only thing that's different is like the names of the categories, but other than that, it's
Brian,
the same.
You're gonna get Asif hooked on the junk again.
You really gotta quit talking about this stuff, man. I got off of this. I got off of this stuff about a year and a half.
Jonesing for that NBA.
I've been clean for almost like 2 years now.
My point is
probably a year.
My point is, you caught me at a weird week. So, like next week,
tell me about it, Jesus.
I got one other thing. I wasn't necessarily playing, but a Shacker beat my level 5 in Super Mario Maker, and he captured it. Skankcore, he was able to beat it. It took him a good day. He spent one night playing it, was cursing at me, and then the next morning he came back and he started streaming again. It took him about 2 hours straight of playing my level, and then he beat it. So that was cool. Congratulations to Skankcore. He's the 9th person in over 2,300 tries.
That is an insane ratio.
So that is a super expert level, and he has inspired me to make a level 6. So, you guys,
nice.
Yeah, I will.
I probably won't finish that one either.
No.
One day when I have enough time, I'll go back. Did you beat level 5?
Did you beat level 4?
I don't think I've tried level 4. I should probably go back and find that one.
Level 4 is beatable.
Are they increasingly difficult? Like level 1 is super easy. Level 2 is
yes. Okay. Level 1 was fun. It was just a bunch of coins and trampolines and amiibos. You know.
And you can't lose in level 1. By the time you get to 5, the power
you can lose. Up. You can lose in level 1, but it's just fun and easy. And yeah, it's kind of you're watching the evolution of me playing Super Mario Maker. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make a fun level. Okay, I'm gonna make another fun level. I'm gonna make a slightly harder level. I'm gonna make a really hard level. I'm gonna make an evil level. It's like,
I actually have a proposal for you. I have to talk to you about it off the air, but I want to put your Mario Maker evil to use. So
all right. Now I'm curious to hear what that is. We'll address that after. So I did download that WWE game because it's free on Xbox. I haven't touched it. Knowing myself, I'm going to find it in 4 months that it's still in my system and be like, oh, I totally forgot about that. Delete.
I mean, you might as well wait for 2K17 at this point because it comes out in like a month. But
I'm sure that's why they were giving it away. You know,
is that wait? They're giving away 2K16?
Yeah.
Yeah, as part of the Games with Gold thing.
Games with Gold this month. Yeah.
You know, it's actually not a bad game. They're still not as good as they were back in maybe the heyday, but you know, it's for what they are and the limitations put on them. 2K16 was fine.
The most fun I had with WWE games was on N64, though. Honestly, that's
the high water mark.
And it's sad. That's sad that it's like that long ago that I was like, "Yep, those are the best ones."
Those are the days.
Yeah.
I am optimistic for this new one. Largely because it sounds like they're making some choices that they should have made a long time ago.
Yeah.
Getting rid of the stupid story modes and focusing on making something that's like actually kind of getting the stuff that people really like right.
Yeah.
It's still probably mostly gonna be okay, but whatever. I've got the stupid collector's edition pre-order.
They put their best.
I have no room to talk here.
The best 2K devs, I think, I'm talking about the sports team. It just seems like they're focused on NBA. That's their cash cow.
That's it.
And it's a great game.
Yeah, I love 2K. I love NBA 2K, but they are definitely
starting this discussion.
Well, no, but it's actually interesting because I think, from what I understand, and I could be off, but it seems to be like what I'm reading that the choice to stick with the developer that they have for the WWE games is a WWE decision, largely because they've been in business with them for a long time and they can just turn the games out very quickly on an annual level. And WWE loves being treated like an actual sport. So they just love this idea of a house that can just turn these games around. And I think 2K just sees it as like sort of a turnkey operation at this point. So they're not going to put like Visual Concepts or one of the big developers on it. As much as I would just, if I could get Visual Concepts or somebody in that tier to make a wrestling game, I would probably never play anything else again.
Yeah, if you made a WWE game with the quality of the old school NFL 2K games, it would be heaven.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yep.
And the polish that those games had, it would be really cool to see. I'm not saying that the game's bad. I'm just saying like they're consistently 6s or 7s out of 10s. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see them try to get an 8 or a 9 one year, and I think it would be cool. But I'll probably get it this year. I haven't bought
budgets and time though. So.
Well, dude, Take-Two Interactive is doing great this year.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they are, but I'm also sure they have like a certain amount they allocate towards the WWE franchise.
Well, they probably figured not X number of sales.
They're not especially eager to up that number. Is what I'm saying.
NBA is going to outsell it. Like, there's no question about it. But
really, what we're getting at is that NFL should license their brand to more than one developer.
Yeah, have some competition in the ranks. Seriously,
because 2K deserves a shot at football. Because they make good games, too.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a tangent we got on.
Yeah. We'll talk more about this next month, I'm sure.
Yeah, and after the show and lots. Anyway, so here's some insight about my life. My baby has not been letting me sleep consistently. And I used to stay up till like probably 2 regularly, and that would give me like a solid 2 hours to like play games, you know. Because I don't like playing when people are awake. I feel like I'm just taking up the TV for something that only I enjoy. That hasn't really been the case lately. So I haven't played a lot of console games because it's like 11:30 and I'm like, I'm tired. But I've been trying to get through Uncharted 4 a little bit. That game's real long. Like I was I was on chapter 8 and I was like, I must be almost done. How many chapters does this game have? I Google like how many chapters in Uncharted 4. They're like 22, and I was like, what the? I'm not even close.
Well, isn't it kind of the final chapter of the story?
Yeah.
So I mean, they wanted to give it a good.
It's called a piece, and they wrap things up in one way or another. I have no idea how yet.
I know how the game ends, and this is the concluding.
Yeah. So I think it deserves a nice send off like that. I need to go back and play it. It's a great game. It's very well polished.
It as usual. Uncharted has like polish like nothing else.
Did it look amazing on the 4K?
I'll play through a chapter and it'll have been an hour long, and I was like, holy crap, that was just one chapter out of 22 chapters.
You just saw it this week on 4K though, right?
I did, yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit in our sort of news wrap-up section, but yeah.
Did it look ridiculously amazing though? Because the game already looks great.
Okay, it looked better. Everything there looked better. But it was obvious more so than the other games that this was like an older game that they were sort of, putting through this new technology. Which, you can't really blame them. I will say, though, I'm getting ahead of myself as far as mentioning this in the news section, but Infamous for Second Son is just as old as Uncharted, and that thing looked like fucking amazing.
I thought that game looked great when it came out.
It did, but the HDR, like the high dynamic range, the new lighting effects and stuff, with that made that really stand out. And Uncharted was never like a lighting heavy game, but they were showing the section of the DLC for Infamous with the Neon Girl, and so you saw that like so much contrast and brightness with her neon powers. It looked fantastic. Like if you have like a nice TV and you just want something to show it off once they release the patch for Infamous, that's going to be the thing. Anyway, so oddly, most of my games have been like handheld, even though I haven't really been traveling or anything. I got Picross 3D 2 because that's part of last week's Nintendo Direct. I don't think we recorded by then.
No.
We were still anticipating Detective Pikachu, and it didn't happen. But they did announce Picross 3D 2.
Utter disaster.
Which is great. Picross 3D is still great. My one kind of complaint is that they have this new... I don't know if you guys have played Picross 3D, but if you haven't, you should. The original Picross 3D, the concept of Picross 3D in general is you get a block of gray, and you chip away parts of it. The best comparison I think I've ever heard was Jeremy Parish, who said like it's like a game built around that Michelangelo quote where he says like the sculpture is inside and I'm just chipping away all of the stuff, all the unnecessary. So it's like that as a game, and it's fantastic. In this game, they have two different colors of paint to mark the blocks instead of just one. Blue paint means it's a solid block. Orange paint means it can be curved, or it could be a little ball, or it can be an angle, or whatever, to make like a more complex finished, shape. So my one real complaint is that they have the blue paint, they have the orange paint, they have the hammer to knock out blocks, then they have sort of blue and orange highlighters to say like I'm pretty sure this thing has to be orange, but I'm not totally sure yet. I'm not committing to it, so I just want to mark it, So that's 5 things. And you'll probably notice the D-pad only has 4 directions. And usually how these things work is you hold down a direction on the D-pad and then you use the stylus to tap something while you're holding it down because that marks which tool you want to use. There's not really a great elegant solution for that. One of their solutions is mapping one of the buttons to the L button, which feels a little weird because then I don't want to have to hold down the L button every time I want to use the hammer or whatever. The other solution, which I've actually started using, is to map it to the circle pad, where it's sort of split into like 5 pie chart pieces. But that means that the pieces are uneven. It's not the cardinal directions that you think of. You think like up is the hammer, to the left, but kind of up-ish is orange, and to the right and kind of up-ish is blue. And so I've hit a lot of errors where it'll like count a mistake just because I was moving along quickly and thought I had a tool selected, but I didn't select it correctly. And so it's kind of like a weird, obnoxious thing that I don't know how you help. maybe if there's full button mapping, I can just not use the highlighters at all because I never use the highlighters. And then I could just have the cardinal directions like up, down, and left or something. But that's a little bit of a pain. But it's really cool. I love Picross and I love Picross 3D. It's just
maybe they'll fix it for NX.
Maybe. It is a weirdly satisfying kind of game when you chip away at this thing slowly and rotate it and then split down the middle to like see a middle section and get a couple more blocks and then rotate it again, and like it can take like a solid like 10 minutes, and then when you finish it all and it's revealed, it's weirdly satisfying. I also played the new Street Pass games just because I was kind of curious about them. So there's a stock trading game, Asif. That was the one that I picked out for free because you could pick one of two for free. It's basically like you basically just hammer on the buy button when you see the thing going down, and then you hammer on the sell button when you see it going high. Like that's basically the whole game.
That checks out.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
Yep.
But the Street Pass element is that like your Street Pass people are like analysts who will tell you like when they think that it's going to drop and rise. So you've got sort of like an overlay of their predictions while it's actually moving in real time. Not in real time, but
like the people in your me plaza are.
Yeah, exactly. They come along and dispense advice about when it's going to drop and when it's going to rise. So you might like see a drop, and you know that like 8 out of 10 of them predicted it's going to drop a lot more. So you wait to buy until it drops a little more because they told you that it would.
Are these fictional companies?
Yeah, it's all fictional. They're not like we're tracking Nintendo's stock.
Oh, it'd just be funny. Like I have Reggie's Me on my 3DS. It'd be funny to have Reggie come on and be like, you know what? It's time to buy Nintendo stock.
Because I'm thinking when
it just always goes up.
like when you're talking about this, it kind of almost sounds like what if this was like a secret Ender's Game thing for the stock market?
Yeah, they'll find.
Mm-hmm.
They'll find the person who's the best at it. They're like, you're the new Reggie.
We're actually powering high-frequency trading computers with me people or whatever.
If you guys want Nintendo to diversify, this is what happens.
Hey, I like it, man. Watch Nintendo in 3 years. That's all I gotta say. This company has. They have an amusement park no one's talking about.
Got legs. It's got a mobile game that we're going to talk about very shortly. Yeah.
And then they got this thing called NX.
So the other free game, and something I noticed about all this, the whole batch of the new games, is that they're very quick, as opposed to like the zombie game, which actually like takes a solid like 5 to 10 minutes to finish a level. These new games are just like you hop in, you do a little quick thing, and then you hop out. Like that's the whole thing. So let's see, what are the other games? The other free one is this stock car racer, where you just do one race, 3 laps, and it's all about holding down the acceleration, except when you take really steep. Sharp curves, and then you let it off, and then put it back. You let off the gas and put it back on, and that's the whole game. Like that's, yeah. And you can customize your racer and stuff like that, but mostly that's the entire game. And there's one where you fire yourself out of a cannon and try to grab as many little flags as you can on your way up. There's one where all your Street Pass people bring you ingredients to cook a dish, which that one is actually kind of clever in the weird metafiction that they are building with these Street Pass games. You remember the Find Me game that was like one of the first Street Pass games. In this, you are a chef cooking for those people. So depending on how well you cook, you'll get like a report back of like how well they did going to battle monsters, which I think is like that's kind of cute and clever that they have it tied in. And finally, there's there's one that. You're on an adventure, and there's like a map, and you'll come to forks in the road, and you only have so many steps based on how many steps your Street Pass people got. So when you come to a fork in the road, it's like, do you want to go this way or this way? And you pull out to your map, and you try to see like which direction you think is more likely to lead you towards the treasure that you're going for. So they're all like cute little time wasters, but I think they represent the larger point of all this is to say I think they represent like kind of a philosophical change of how Nintendo is approaching these Street Pass games. By making them kind of smaller and bite-sized and quicker. And I pinned in last week's, in case you missed it, like, I'm hoping that the NX continues the whole Street Pass thing in some fashion, because I've always really liked that. I've always thought that like, that was a really cool, fun thing, and I'm hoping they do. And if so, then having it relegated to these kind of bite-sized experiences and showing that as a philosophical change is cool.
I think tying Street Pass to their mobile initiative would be smart too.
Yeah. I mean, you're already taking it everywhere with you.
Yeah, right.
So why not?
Yeah, like that's, man, why don't they do that? That's really frustrating because and not just Nintendo, but like there aren't any game apps that I've ever seen that do something like that. So unless I'm missing something, there's probably like personal security concerns.
There's ones that like I don't even know. This might require more technical knowledge than I have, but like the cool thing about the 3DS Street Pass stuff is like you don't need to be in the Street Pass application or whatever. It's just running. It's just all the time. So if you're playing whatever else, if you have Phoenix Wright in suspend mode, it's still going to pick up all those Street Passes. And I don't know if mobile does that. Like, is there a way to like have something just kind of running in the background quietly, no matter what else you're doing, that it'll be picking up passes?
I'm sure it's probably against some security protocol Apple has or other smartphone manufacturers have, and Nintendo's willing to do that in that one use case. And it's powered by Wi-Fi, I think. So not everybody has Wi-Fi on when they're walking around too. So I'm sure there's technological reasons why they're not doing it. But what I was thinking more is that, okay, if you have NX on you and you walk by someone, still do that same handshake technology that they have, but then accompany that with games on mobile that are powered by your Street Pass. I just think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be. We'll see what the NX is, I guess. But that kind of leads us...
It's the greatest thing ever. It's the best thing.
Yeah. That kind of leads us... You're very bullish on Nintendo. You're buying all those stocks.
I mean, I've been a Nintendo shareholder for a long time, and a bunch of my investment theses are actually playing out simultaneously. So, yeah. Very bullish. I think the stock could go up 100% from here, which would be put it back near its all-time high.
Well, that leads us actually neatly into one of the, well, actually kind of two of the news sections that I mentioned here. We can just kind of cover news kind of freeform as we think of things that we'd like to talk about. But two of the things that I explicitly mentioned in the topic thread here was the iPhone 7, which got debuted 2 days ago, and also at that same presentation. Mario Run, the Mario Endless Runner.
Yeah, Shigeru Miyamoto on stage, shaking hands with Tim Cook.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. I actually went back. I was traveling at the time, but I went back and watched it because I wanted to see Miyamoto shake hands with Tim Cook.
I mean, that was something else.
Yeah. So that kind of leads neatly into Mario as an endless runner. That was sort of the big Nintendo news this week. That's going to be, I mean, I saw a lot of like, oh, it's an endless runner, I don't know, and like skepticism and grumbling from gamers because we're grumpy bastards. But that is going to be gigantic, right? Like,
yeah, biggest game ever.
It'll be huge.
The most popular game in the history of mobile phone games, by far. It's going to be massive. You put Mario on an iPhone. It's the most obvious thing ever. I told Steve Jobs to do that at the 2010 shareholder meeting. I told them to do it again at the 2012 shareholder meeting, and they're finally doing it in 2016. I'm like, yeah, okay, great. Way to go, guys.
You just write a letter that says, you're welcome.
Seriously, I might as well just have a shirt that I wear to Nintendo and Apple press events where it's just like, you're welcome for the billions of dollars. Come on.
So I got a couple of thoughts on this, actually, because I think this is cool. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, there's that sort of like kind of knee-jerk old school Nintendo fan that my hackles go up a little bit at seeing Mario.
Like I said, we're grumpy bastards.
but at the same time, I think there's a lot of wisdom and logic behind it, and I also think they're very smart in how they're approaching it. That this is not a real Mario game.
No,
they're not just porting a Mario game.
And I think that's smart to keep the full genuine experience on their platforms, but. I do think that making a runner-ish, a more runner-esque version and putting it on Apple, that's smart. I think that's really good. And I think that, runners are kind of hit and miss in terms of like how good they are, but it sounds like they're actually making this into something more akin to an actual game with like levels and progression, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a good runner. Like the Rayman games are good runners.
Yeah, and this will probably be the best one ever made.
The thing to keep in mind is like a good Mario game has similarities with a good runner, but it's not necessarily the exact same thing. So like this thing needs to be a good runner first, with Mario in it, you know. And the footage that I saw looked like, you know, okay, they've got the Mario elements in there, but it looks like it is designed as a runner first, which is the smart thing.
Right, and you know, again, like, there are limitations, I think, to how much you can really do with a runner at this point, especially in terms of input and that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's not going to be, you know, it's not going to have the same kind of reputation that that Mario usually has for like really precise platforming or anything like that. But I think as a sideshow, as something that can be used to promote the other Mario games, it's good. Plus, I like the idea that they're not doing this as a free-to-play thing with a bunch of in-app purchases, because when I saw that Mario was going to be on the phone, and you probably remember this, there was a stockholders meeting from Nintendo.
I remember it, and I cite it all the time as examples of terrible ideas.
I sincerely hope. I don't know if you were there for this one, Asif, but the guy who said that, you know, we could charge 99 cents to make Mario jump higher, that was the first thing that flashed through my head. But I'm like, they're not going to do that, and they confirmed they're not going to do that. So.
I like to imagine that Iwata, with how like a purity of design philosophy that Iwata had. He was perfectly polite in shutting down that comment, but I have to imagine in his brain he was like, "What the fuck?"
Well, it's weird because I think it shows. I think it shows. And maybe Asif, you can speak to this more than I can. But a lot of shareholders in these companies don't really understand what the companies do. They just see something kind of like sexy and like hip and interesting, and they just throw money at it because they think there could be like a huge turnaround.
Yeah, they're not amateur game designers.
I would say that 90% of institutional investors, which comprise probably 50% or 60% of Nintendo's shareholder base, have no idea what makes a good game or any of that. All they care about is how much is this company being valued at, how much can they earn, and what are their revenues, and which way are they going. That's all they care about. So they think, you know what you need? You need in-app purchases for Mario on an iPhone. And it's like, no, you don't. You just need
this
Mario on an iPhone
to raise money that would damage you in other ways by hurting your reputation.
What we're seeing right now, why I'm so excited about Nintendo, is that Iwata laid out this plan years ago. You know, he spoke at the shareholder meeting. He said, we're going to have a tiered content approach. We're going to make mobile games. We're going to have our own first-party device. We're going to make video content based on our IP. And we're going to do, later an amusement park. So it's like we're seeing all of these different ways that they're leveraging their content across multiple platforms. And it's going to be a tiered experience. Here's Baby Mario. Here's really good Mario Galaxy successor on the NX, you know, and then what I think's going on with the NX that no one's really talking about, or it's still a rumor, is that the controllers themselves are going to be detachable and usable on iOS and Android devices. And if they do that, you have a billion iPhones out there. Suddenly you can make Mario games that come out on the App Store that use Nintendo input, and you just mentioned it. Input on smartphones sucks. You can't make a game of the year on an iPhone. You just can't. You know, because people like precision. People like being able, and people love Nintendo precision and Nintendo controllers. And if they do this, it's another thing that I told them to do in 2010. I was at CES, and I said, why don't you come up with controllers to clip on either side of the device? And they called up my EIC afterwards. They're like, that was the weirdest meeting we've ever had. It was I got to do it behind closed doors for the Wii U back when they were really just showing the gamepad and it was plugged into a dev kit. And at the time I was like, this thing needs to click in, and it was just weird. I was trying to help them more than I was trying to interview them. Because in 2010 things were looking pretty bad for them.
Also, his campaign hard to be the new Reggie.
I will be the new Reggie Fils-Aimé when he retires, but you have to defeat him in order to take his place.
That's the only way.
It's the Highlander rule.
And honestly, I think he's doing a great job, and I think Miyamoto is doing a great job. Going back to Mario Run for a second, you have Miyamoto making an iPhone game. He's been sitting there, and he didn't just walk off stage and leave. He sat there and watched the rest of the event. Like, he's interested in iPhone, and he's interested in Apple. And what I'm talking about, if this is true, that the NX has detachable controllers that will work with mobile devices, that's not the last time you're going to see Nintendo at an Apple event.
You know what they could do with that? They could let you make Mario Run levels on the NX, as I theorized.
There's a lot of different synergies that could occur across the different tiered content strategies that they're doing. I just think you're talking about a company that can make billions and billions of dollars over the next few years if they execute properly. So
I have a chatty comment that is joking, but also raises the question. Zollington said, "I'm looking forward to finally spending."
Joking on the chatty? No way.
I'm looking forward to finally spending $95 for the best value Mushroom Kingdom supply pack, which made me laugh. But also, it doesn't sound like they're going to be monetizing this in that way. But how much does something like this? It can't be free to play without microtransactions because that's not a sustainable model.
Well, they said it's an upfront.
So
like you pay and
you're just gonna buy the game.
How much is this game? Like
$5.
How much they need to charge for it?
$5.
$5 sounds about right.
I mean, the assets were just New Super Mario Brothers, so it's not like they have to do a ton of original.
They can't pull a Square and be like $15.
No.
Which
you want to sell like a ridiculous number. You want to sell like hundreds of millions of these. So yeah, $5.
Here's my theory. I think free is sort of the ubiquitous everywhere. $1 is the impulse buy, but I think $2 is actually like the premium impulse buy level of pricing now. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if they make this $2.
I mean, $2, everyone will buy it.
Yeah, exactly. That's $5 is like just high enough that some people will be like, I don't know, $5. But $2, it's like, oh, well, fuck it. Like,
I think, but if you look at the history of apps, right? You go, why don't we? You know what Monkey Ball cost at launch? Wasn't it like $20?
Yeah, there's a lot of established developers when they've tried to get into mobile development have thought they've just been crazy with the pricing. They have no idea how to price things, and Square Enix arguably still doesn't.
I think Nintendo's going to price it at $5, and then if for some reason they want to, they can drop it to $2 eventually.
Yeah.
What they'll do? They'll launch it at $5 on the iTunes store or the App Store, and then when it comes to Android, they'll drop the price.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Because remember, this is the other thing. First on an Apple device.
Yeah. So that's already a huge user base, but then they've got Android as well.
We live in the world of timed exclusives now, so it's just funny to hear Nintendo
timed exclusives.
Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, sweet Jesus, this is never going to go away. This timed exclusive nonsense. But yeah, you know what? From the Blue Ocean strategy, it makes perfect sense to be on both Android and iPhone.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting, is that nothing that we're seeing is like, I think a lot of people, when they look at Nintendo or they look at Apple, they're like, oh, they're not doing what Steve Jobs would have done. Steve Jobs totally would have taken the headphone jack out of the phone, and he would have pissed off everyone by making us use dongle.
That's true.
Satoru Iwata, we're watching his plan unfold right now, and I just think it's cool to see Bill Trinen and Miyamoto take more of a leadership role now. It seems like on the Direct, Bill's doing a lot of stuff. Outside
of his weird, dumb appearances and sketches for Nintendo Directs.
Yeah.
I think dumb affectionately because it's a lovable kind of dumb, but it's like they aren't actors,
Oh no. Yeah. But I don't know if you probably didn't watch the Duke Nukem stream last week.
No, I missed it.
Randy Pitchford makes Bill Trinen and Miyamoto and Reggie.
I heard he was trying out some material.
They look like Anthony Hopkins. And compared to Randy, like Randy sat up there and he's like, "Now I'm gonna do some magic tricks. Now I'm gonna play my guitar." I'm like, "What the heck am I watching now?"
He was doing his variety show.
Yeah, I don't know if more shtick is what I want to see from game developers. I think that shtick has its place. But
it was really bizarre, and then they had this fake debate between I don't know if you guys know it, but Randy does voice acting for the Borderlands series.
Sounds about right. I do remember hearing that.
So they did a debate. Two of the devs were on stage debating to be president, and then the voice of Duke Nukem walks out on stage, and I'm like, John St. John. I'm like, what is actually going on right now? Like our, friend of Shaq, Andrea Renee, was doing the moderating for it. I'm watching this PAX panel. I'm like, what the heck is going on right now? So in a world where that's going on, I'm like, the Nintendo Direct acting is polished compared to that crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, Randy played a a song on his guitar about bigots, and it involved Gamergate, and I was just like, oh my god.
It was so. See, this is another news event that we can talk about. We've still got so many news events to talk about, and we've already eaten up like an hour of show. But whatever. So like we didn't really talk about the Duke thing, I guess. The PAX, last week, and the Nintendo Direct. The weird thing about the Nintendo Direct is, Brian, you had that prediction about the Galaxy being from Mario Galaxy, and I swear to God, it seemed like it was going to be the entire time, because the whole Nintendo Direct revolved around this Galaxy 3DS.
I'm
and
so
finding
mad.
it, and how important it was for Reggie to find his Galaxy-themed 3DS during the Nintendo Direct. And then it ended with a weird gag about Bill Trinen making it float with his mind, and then it was like credits, and it's like, what the hell was that?
Because like a Mario Galaxy port for the new 3DS is such a no-brainer. Like, just do it. I don't understand why you didn't do it.
No, they're gonna do it for NX.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
But,
And I think that's what's going on with
set expectations that way. Is what I'm saying. Like,
no, it's bizarre.
If you weren't gonna do it, that's fine, but don't set expectations for it and then don't do it. That's strange.
You guys know I love Mario Maker, but instead of giving us Galaxy, they give us Mario Maker, and you can't even upload your maps. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, the Mario Maker 3DS is weird.
I was like, why? Why would you do that? Can you even play my level on the 3DS?
Maybe they didn't specify what. They said some levels will work on the 3DS. They didn't specify why or like what criteria and what exclusions there will be.
Like, just if you want Mario Maker, get a Wii U.
I heard speculation that it'll actually be like very few levels, because it might just be the levels that use some kind of license thing that they don't want to have to renegotiate, like for the Ryu sprite or whatever.
Or
so
the
like,
Mercedes.
If you have a Ryu sprite in your Mario Maker, then no, you can't use it. Like.
Yeah, wasn't there like a Mercedes thing they did?
Yeah,
there was.
Things like that might be the holdup. If that's the case, it's going to be like a very small fraction of levels that don't work.
That's fine. If you can still lose at my level on 3DS, I'm okay with it. But I don't like the idea that I can make levels.
I might play a lot more of it on 3DS, to be honest. Like,
if I could make levels,
like the Wii U controller as much as the 3DS.
Well, that's just crazy talk. But anyway, if I could make levels on my 3DS, I would. But
you can. Like, you just have to share them locally for some reason.
But that's stupid. How? Like, am I going to go to your house and be like, "Here, Steve"?
And what's weird is it is an online system. Like, the 3DS is perfectly capable of going online. You could just let people design like while they're offline on the bus or whatever, and then they get home and then they upload their levels. Like, it's
like, hey, this game was almost Game of the Year. Let's remove a crucial aspect of it, and then
it's a late console life decision that this should have never been made. I think all the people who were making the Mario Run decision must have been out that day, because it was not the A squad making that call.
That was such a gut punch, because we were all basically hoping for Galaxy, and then we got that, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. It was a weird 3DS presentation of because like I mentioned in my in case you missed it again. Like, this was probably the 3DS's like last hurrah. Like, this was the this was the last thing, and they're going out on a new Pikmin game, which looks pretty cool. A couple ports of Mario Maker and Yoshi, and they released Picross like that day, and like that's their last thing.
Oh, they got Pokemon Sun and Moon. They'll do.
Yeah, I mean that we already knew about that, but yeah, they've got that coming.
Maybe they'll do something there. I mean, it's the
20th
wait.
anniversary. Speaking of Pokemon Sun and Moon, it came out like days after that Nintendo Direct that there was going to be a Pokemon Snap like feature in Pokemon Sun and Moon. It's like, why wouldn't you put that at the Nintendo Direct?
That's like the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like, you have needed to make a new Pokemon Snap for how long, and you just bury it like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what honestly, I think that's what Pokemon Go should have been, but whatever. I guess it turned out okay.
But yeah, iPhone 7. We didn't really hit that very much. I just kind of made a joke about the headphone jack. You know what? I've been thinking about the headphone, or was it headphone jack gate? I don't know what they're calling it. But
I have nothing against wireless headphones. I actually bought a pair like on my own because I wanted them. I'm a little wary of it being not as reliable as regular headphones, because the ones that I bought were supposedly like a nicer pair, and they were somewhat unreliable. So
Well, they are using a new communications chip that's proprietary, surprise, surprise, that will only work with Beats and Apple your AirPods. The thing I was thinking, though...
Wait, what? Like, I can't use the Bluetooth headphones I've got?
You can use the Bluetooth headphones you got, but what I'm saying is that...
particular pairing technology.
Steve's talking about pairing and interference. I'm like, Apple has come up with the new means of communicating wirelessly with devices, and it doesn't require pairing. You just hold it up to it, and it just works. So that's cool. Huh. And it also works across all of your devices, which I also think is cool. Because then you could be using your Mac, you could be using your iPod or your iPhone or whatever, and your Apple Watch, and it will... Whatever device you're using at the time will be playing through your headphones. That feature itself, the continuity there is cool. I don't like Beats, period. And I don't like earbuds, period. Look at me. I'm wearing these. These have
you got the cams on.
You know, these have an enormous cord already, and now I have to put a dongle on my phone again. And I'm going to. And the reason I say again was that this was 2007. When they had the recessed headphone jack on the original iPhone, and we had to put a dongle on that thing too. So it's, what I'm looking at though is that, Apple's obsessed with thinness and design and space efficiency, and that the headphone jack takes up, and David Pogue from, he's written for a lot of sites, but he's writing for Yahoo Finance these days. He's a great tech reviewer. He deconstructed the headphone jack issue really well. He said, look, you're getting 2 hours more of battery life and an extra speaker in the phone. And what you're giving up is that port. Now, what I think the logical thing to happen will be is, everyone has a battery pack that they carry around now with their phone, or a case that charges their phone. If I was a case maker like Mophie, I would be working on making a case that plugs into the lightning port and gives you a headphone jack.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they've got to be. Like,
there will be third-party solutions to this problem.
There is one right now, but it's the most wonky crap ever. Because the problem that Belkin created a dongle, right? And it looks like the old school AV dongles for the iPhone and the iPad, where it comes out and then there's two lightnings that go in, so you can charge and listen to your music simultaneously. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But but what I'm saying is that there's got to be a more elegant solution to this than dongles, and I think that
I just like saying the word dongle, though.
I do love saying the word dongle.
It's a fun word.
That's why I like saying the word dongle. If you look at the MacBook, it's got one port on it, so they had already done this on the MacBook with the USB-C. So it's like this isn't an unprecedented move for them. I do think they were just begging for a beatdown on the internet when they said they had courage to do this.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like some PR manager was like, no,
that was the PR manager. Phil Schiller is vice president of marketing at the company. He just does that. That's what they do. They say things. It's that reality distortion field. It's still alive and well at Apple. They think their shit does not stink, and they think that what they're doing is right. They spend a lot of time looking at everyone who uses an iPhone. They realize that I'm the minority. Not many people have Sennheisers. Not many people care. And people love those crappy Beats headphones. So you come up with new Beats headphones that are wireless, oh yeah, most people will buy those. So they, as a business decision, they didn't care. But
it just seems like this is such an avoidable state. How many times in the past 5 to 10 years has a reaction to a story be basically like, hey, fans hate this, what do you have to say to them? And the dumb PR reaction was, well, we think it's great, and so they're just going to have to get used to it. It's such an unforced error. You don't need to respond that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's their kind of attitude. It's like the deal with it attitude at Apple, and they're like, we can't make this phone unless we do this, unless we make this difficult decision. They got a lot of crap for not supporting Flash on iOS for a very long time, and they didn't back down. They came out and said, we're not going to support Flash because we can't make a good phone with it. So it's, and I know that people don't like to compare it to past examples, but they did remove floppy disk drives before anyone else did in computers. They did remove parallel port before anyone else. They switched to USB before anyone. So this is not unprecedented for Apple to change connection devices. And like Phil Schiller said, Lightning is a audio interface as well as it is a charging interface. So there is that versatility in that port. It is insanely thin and small compared. You remember their old 35-pin connector? That was the first move they made, right? They went from that to Lightning. So you have to look at it like it's been iPhone 5 to now. Mm-hmm. That's not that crazy of a time to evolve it even thinner. I think they could have done a better job of explaining it. And also, I think I was talking to our friend Awkward Hamster Michael Wang about this last night. He's like, I would care more if it was a better waterproof rating. It's like they just did it so they could get that waterproof rating, but it's not like it's super good. It's not like you can swim with it in your pocket. It's like if you fall into a pool with it, yeah, you'll be okay maybe. That seems like a huge sacrifice for that. And then I think that they're going the wrong way. Like, I don't care if my phone's thinner anymore. I would buy a phone that's twice as thick if it gave me better battery life, And it's just I don't know.
I mean, it's the thinness doesn't even matter, so I'm going to put a case on it. Like this, any thinness I have
it's going to get thicker anyway
because I don't want it to break. So
until you make them indestructible, we're going to keep putting cases on them.
Yeah. The other thing I just want to point out, like the headphone jack, I feel like that kind of got like the Sturm und Drang. Like that was like the really big story out of all this. And honestly, I am kind of at the point where I go either way with it. I just think the AirPods or whatever are just the stupidest thing. Like, I mean, they are, and I know you were talking on Twitter, like there are reasons why these things cost the way they do, apart from the Apple tax, but $160 for a pair of earbuds you will lose almost instantaneously is just ridiculous. And I know it's not required to use the phone, but like if you were saying, okay, $160 for like over-the-ear phones that I won't lose, that could like fold up, maybe like nice and be able to be transported easily. That to me is
that Apple design sense. That would be nice.
Yeah, even with the proprietary technology, that's a huge ask.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just it seems weird that they instead of focusing on something like, okay, let's say that you're going to use the dedicated earbuds that plug into the phone. How am I going to charge this thing? They didn't think. Hey, people are going to be listening. Really? They missed that? That just seems like
that people might want to listen and charge at the same time.
Yeah, it just seems like a huge oversight. It just seems I don't know. It seems like that same lack of attention. Like
isn't that kind of the part of the point of using wireless? Like since I got my wireless headset, which is now they're repairing it, but sending me a new one. But like when I was using it more, like. That was part of the benefit, was being able to just like plug it in on one side of the room and then wander freely around. That's part of the benefit of having wireless in the first place.
Yeah, and my coworker, like we talked about this the other day, the first thing she brought up was how am I going to charge and listen to the phone? So it's a real problem. It's not like it's just like an edge case scenario. It was the first thing she thought of, right?
No, it's the first thing a lot of people think of when they see it because they're like, that's where I charge my phone. How am I supposed to listen and charge? That's a logical problem, and I think case manufacturers could really solve this, and they're going
to clean up if they do it.
Yeah, if Mophie does this, they'll make a ton of money. If it's not Mophie, if InCase does it, there's a lot of good case manufacturers out there, and someone's going to try to fix this problem pretty quickly, and then I'll buy their case. But yeah, because I am a audiophile, and I like to have a headphone jack plugged in my into whatever device. Someone mentioned this, and I think it's pretty apt. This is the 3.5 millimeter connection we're talking about. Before there was a 1/4 inch connection, and to plug into the Walkmans or whatever, I'm showing my age here, but you needed a dongle of sorts. You needed an adapter, and it's not unprecedented for an adapter to exist between an old technology and a new technology. So I think it is overblown in a sense. But I understand the outrage. I think the story that we're burying, that everyone's burying, is the stereoscopic camera in the iPhone 7 Plus. That's a huge fucking deal. The phone can now sense depth, and we haven't seen a software developer use it yet. Imagine, if it could really sense depth, if I could hold it up and be like, my computer is X inches away from me, that'd be pretty awesome. As a tool, as a useful tool, which I think is what technology is all about. I think that camera we're just scratching the surface of what it can do right now. They showed off some pictures. They said, look at how the pictures perceive depth, but why would they have a stereoscopic camera and not be thinking about how we're going to view things stereoscopically? I feel like that's this little nugget that they left for us that we need to think about going into next year when they release new products. So I think there is next year. I think this has been a year to forget for Apple. They're the first down year in revenue in 13 years. It's constantly getting attacked in the media, either the FBI scandal or now with Ireland and their taxes over there. So I feel like they're the largest company in the world. They have a bullseye on their back, and they are going to move into the new headquarters that Steve Jobs designed. It was the last public appearance that he ever made was when he showed it to the city council in Cupertino. They're going into that new building next year. And if you think they're not going to show you something brand new at their first event there, you're crazy. And so I think that what we're seeing with the innovation in the camera tech kind of gives you some breadcrumbs to see where they're going.
Just imagine Pokemon Go.
I was thinking the AR capability would be really cool.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot of AR apps that can take advantage of that camera in a way that you can't on any other phone right now. Not like that one. So, and then not to mention that phone is more powerful than some computers. They're finally getting to this point where the GPU performance and the CPU performance is really going to start competing with portable computers. And it's like, you saw that game running, the Oz game that they demoed. I don't know. I think going back to what I was saying with NX, if you give me a proper input device for an iPhone, this new iPhone, I don't know why I would need a other portable gaming device.
That's kind of where all this is going, right? Like they've already done the messaging of like, hey, you don't necessarily need a laptop computer. Most users can just get by with an iPad. It feels like phones are moving in that direction. Everything.
I feel like I don't need an iPad with my Plus. I use my Plus more than anything else any day. I still need a computer and I still need a smartphone, but with the bigger form factor smartphone, I think the tablet is proving to be more expendable than the laptop. Because but if you want the larger screen experience, there's going to be reasons to have tablets versus smartphones. But
part of the reason you need a laptop, Asif, is that you do like actual work and gaming activities that kind of require it. For the average user, like my wife, which I think is like probably most people, like she browses the internet a little bit and she might have to write an email, and for that, like her tablet or phone is fine. Like she doesn't really need a laptop anymore.
No, that's Steve Jobs, I think it was at All Things D, he said they asked him about the future computers because they were talking about the post-PC world, and he said PCs are going to be like trucks. Like back in the 1800s, like the late 1800s, early 1900s, everyone had a truck because that was the only car that existed, right? But as we kind of moved into the cities and had different use cases for automobiles, trucks became less popular. So now it's like 1 in 25 cars is a truck. That's how he said that's what he thinks PC will be. People, like you said, I need it for work, so I need that truck. But a lot of people will do very well with a sedan, and you have like the iPad and the iPhone or the tablet and the smartphone as an example of that. Mobile computing is definitely disrupting a lot of different industries. When you look at overall PC sales for the last 5 years have been trending pretty much lower, and even Apple's having.
That's kind of when I wonder how that's affecting. We're going off on like super far.
Yeah, we got to kind of.
I kind of wonder how that's here. I kind of wonder how that's affecting Microsoft, because their bread and butter has always been, we're in every office in the world. Real quick to move on to our last kind of news section that I wanted to discuss here, just because I don't want to give it short shrift, because it was one of the bigger things this week. Sony announced their PlayStation lineup for the year. And basically it was a slimmer model and the Pro. The Pro looks like a Big Mac. It's got another layer of bun in between the two buns. And it allows for 4K output and HDR high dynamic range, I think. And I was actually at the event, so I got to see them running on really nice TVs and things like that. And it did look nice. It looked like there was a lot of contrast. It was like very bright, and you could definitely see the difference. I kind of wonder if that's going to be enough to get people to invest in like an all-new TV that can make use of this thing.
And that's the biggest problem. Though I was watching this, all I could think of was, okay, so basically Sony just came out and said, all right, you're going to give us $400, and you're also probably going to have to give us or somebody else another $500, $1,500, however much you want to spend on a TV to actually use this thing. It's, to me, like, I don't know, we're in this weird position for console manufacturers right now. And you said it yourself, like, this stuff does look pretty good, but I'm sitting here, I've got a PlayStation 4. I just bought it a couple years ago. I have no interest in going back and buying another one because then I know in order to actually get anything out of it, I'd have to go buy another TV. And I don't really want to do that either. So now a $400 purchase has become a $1,500 purchase. I know like the math kind of gets weird sometimes. I remember like people complaining about the GameCube and stuff like that with the Game Boy Link cables and all that. But to me, like, I don't like, this is not an option. Like, you have to do this to even use this thing properly. And
the comparison that I heard was like, is it the SD to HD bump? Like if you bought an Xbox 360 and it was your first HD console, like, yeah, you could play that on a standard def TV, but it really, to get the most out of it, you really need to get an HD TV. And having seen it firsthand, because all of the demo stations at the event were like set up to basically just switch back and forth. They could just be like click, 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 click. See the difference? And having seen the difference myself, like, it's not an SD to HD difference. Like, it's impressive. It is night and day. Like, it looks very different to my eyes, and it is very impressive. But it is also not like that level of jump. And I asked several people when I was sort of going around interviewing different devs. I asked every dev I could find, like, how much how much manpower does this add to your process? Because you're really catering to like power users, and we don't know how many people are going to jump on board, basically. And the answer was generally sort of a waffly, like, it doesn't really add that much. It's kind of easy for us, but it's got to be something. It's not zero.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know what it was. Just, I watched some of it and just was completely, I'm not sure if I was even underwhelmed. I think I wasn't like whelmed at all. Like, I'm just sitting here watching, and like and you could see too when they were holding for applause at times. It felt like that never actually came. Like they take the sheet off the PlayStations.
Well, it was a small half-filled theater.
Yeah, but come on, like, you at least like, it's just like, if you know you're not going to get the applause, just keep moving. And I don't know, just, it was, I don't want to say it was a disaster, but it was kind of a disaster. Like, they don't.
Well, it was also exactly what we expected. There was the good ship Sony has been leaky as hell the last month or so. So it's not like any of this was a surprise.
And two things I have to say about it, though: lack of Blu-ray support is just the dumbest. That's worse than removing the headphone jack. It is. You made something. Yeah. You're in the Blu-ray consortium. You guys are like one of the founders of Blu-ray technology, one of the people pushing this medium forward, and you're like, nope, not going to support it.
Especially if this is supposed to be your 4K box. You're like, hey, you got a 4K TV? This is your all-in-one 4K box. You can watch Netflix streaming in 4K if your bandwidth can handle it, which you probably can't. You can. You can play games in 4K. Oh, what's that? You have a 4K Blu-ray? Sorry.
Let's talk about TV for a second. Let's talk about 4K TVs for a second. Those prices have plummeted in the last 3 years. You went from a 4K TV costing you $5,000 to now less than $1,000 if you're buying a Vizio or like a 50-inch Vizio, right? So they have gotten cheaper, but the reason they've gotten cheaper is I go to CES every year, and they're already working on 8K.
Yep.
8K looks amazing. 8K does look way better than 1080p. It's a material bump. And I just feel like television makers get into this cycle of, we're gonna force feed you this crap. It's been 3D forever. Here,
I mean, let's talk.
You're gonna love this 3D TV, Brian. Let me tell you. And we're gonna make games that support 3D. Remember that nonsense?
I do.
How did that work out for everybody?
Speaking of incrementalism, I think we can expand this into a larger discussion point, just really quickly. Obviously, we need to wrap things up, but you're talking about incrementalism in TVs, and a lot of people are saying, and I think that they're right, that this move from PlayStation is now the first mover. We thought Xbox was going to be with their Xbox Scorpio or whatever next year, but PlayStation, by coming out this year, is the first mover of this kind of incremental console upgrade cycle.
Well,
so,
isn't that what the S was too, though? The 1S?
Yeah. But with new TVs coming, what I'm leading towards is like with 8K on the way, in 3 years, do we get the PlayStation Pro Plus or whatever? Like that now we support 8K, and this time we have Blu-ray support.
I would hope that the next iteration of both consoles would be a new number, the Xbox 2 and the PlayStation 5 or something.
I would hope, but this puts us into a very scary place where how long are they going to be incrementalizing the consoles before they come up with a whole new, like, okay, now it's PlayStation 5, and we have no idea, like, we haven't gotten a straight answer on that at all.
No, and we're not going to, because this has been a terrible business decision on both their parts. I'm sorry, this is really dumb. I think you're
not wrong.
You're going to have to develop games that work in 4K and in 1080p. What dev wants to do that?
Yep. The developers can't really do anything, big or expansive. Like, the answer from all the people I talked to was, well, we can have a better field of view and, like, better lighting. Like, that's what they get to do with this added power. And it's like, okay, cool. I don't need one then.
I don't have the barrier to entry that Brian or you may have. I own a 4K television. It's a big one even. And I own a PS4 and I own an Xbox One. And I don't want to buy these. I don't care. I don't care enough that it can run in 4K. Guess what? I have a PC. I can run awesome resolution.
An interesting footnote to all this. Now, having seen the specs, Microsoft is still saying Scorpio is more powerful. So we don't know what the specs of Scorpio are. But Microsoft is still like doing the dick measuring contest thing.
No, they don't either. Scorpio is this nebulous thing that they can keep changing until they really, really announce it. Yep. It's the height of idiocy to come out at E3 and announce 2 products and be like, here's one, and then here's this way better one that's not out yet.
Yeah, Sony's credit, they're at least not doing that. They're not like, hey, our Slim is coming out this year and the other thing's coming out next year. They have them both coming out in the same year, at least. So they can be like, there's a very small gap of time between the two, and they announce them both at the same time, so it's like, if you want the higher end one, you already know you want the higher end one, just wait an extra month.
The only thing about PS4 Pro that I understand why they're doing it right now is you're going to need it for PSVR. You're going to need every...
I hope not. Jesus,
you're gonna want it for PSVR. I'm not high on PSVR. I've experienced it a lot, and I think that the frame doubling Magumbo does not cut it for me. I'd rather have 90 actual FPS than 120 frame doubled FPS.
PSVR was also oddly absent from.
Yeah. Doesn't that seem weird? You're releasing this new high-powered console, and you're not talking about how great it's going to run PS4.
They had it in the little box next to the other PlayStation things as like this is this year's lineup. But yeah,
I don't know.
It was a strange presentation all around. I think we need to wrap things up, but it was strange.
I strongly recommend keeping all your money in your wallet and saving it for an NX purchase next year.
That's what I felt is like out of both these conferences, it just proved to me that the future is just sticking with what you already have.
Yeah, if you got those consoles, stick with them.
Yep. So for our plugs, I'm going to just say a real quick thanks to Cass for her PAX dispatches. Those were cool. She actually mentioned, I don't think even realizing, people came on and started talking about Demons with Shotguns, not realizing there was a chat connection, which I thought was kind of funny. So that's my plug. I think Brian is antsy to go enrich young minds. So
yeah, I will say, Learn or Not on Twitter, we put up the first video of our new series for our game studies program. That's live and operational on YouTube, and I'm going to be putting up a link to it again. I'll pin it to the top of the Twitter. So go to twitter.com/learnonaut to see me talk to a psychology expert about sports fandom and lose at Madden.
Yeah. Always fun to see you lose, man. So, Asif, quickly, you want to plug Mercury or something?
Yeah, I'll plug Shack News Mercury, $5 a month, ad-free experience. Also, check out modojo.com, our mobile sister site. They're doing good work over there. And, we're
debuting a new feature today that I love the name of, so check that out.
Yeah. So check out Modojo, check out Shack News, and yeah, just keep coming back and supporting us. Like, follow, and subscribe, and all that jazz.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Happy birthday, Dreamcast, too, while we're at it.
Dreamcast birthday today?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 9/9/2016. It's about 17 years.
Oh yeah, it's 909 day. I'm gonna go break out my Roland. I forgot. Shout out to Roland. I love that guy. I love drum machines. Anyway.
All right. Thanks, guys. So for AutoCon, I'm Steve Watts.
I'm Brian Carr.
And we will see you on Chatty.
And the soul.